Welcome to New York's number 2 sports show. The Yankees do it again, and it's not a good thing. They lose 2 of 3 to the Texas Rangers in what has been very similar to what we've seen lately. This is now 10 straight rubber matches that they've been in, 10 straight series where the games were split. The first 2 games were split, and in a lot of cases, at least lately, the Yankees have won the first game, lost the second game, then they lose the rubber match. That's happened the last 3 series at Washington, home against the Cardinals, and at Texas. 3 teams that are not playoff bound, aren't particularly good. And the game that jumps out to me in this series, while game 3 was kind of ugly in its own right, it's game 2, where Clay Holmes does implode to the point where now he has finally essentially been demoted from the closer role. I've been calling for this for a long, long time. I'm glad that it finally happened. And it's nothing against Clay Holmes personally, obviously. It's nothing to do with, he is not in a role that he should be in. If he had been where he belonged, which is more in a middle relief, 7th, maybe 8th inning role, then fine. I think that you could find a way to make that effective. But I understand that the options around him really aren't all that great, but it could not be Clay Holmes. And so that was really, really bad. But you could all see it coming based on what happened in that second game where there was defensive miscues by DJ LeMahieu, which we should not be saying his name really anymore, considering the fact that, Rizzo's back. And look, I think expectations, need to be in the right place for Anthony Rizzo, but still, you had a Gleyber Torres miscue defensively. So you had your kind of typical defensive lapses, especially in the infield. Although, to be honest with you, the outfield defense is really not all that great either, if we're just going to go there. But yeah, that was really, really terrible. You could all see that unfolding. And there was even a base running blunder, really more on Luis Rojas than anything. So that's the game that really stands out to me. Because look, at the end of the day, winning 2 of 3 at Texas would have been fine. Honestly, you can't, that is something where, would you love a sweep? Yes. Would a sweep have been attainable? Yeah, it would have been, but they're now losing these series too. So it's been really, really mediocre at best baseball. They're 15 and 15 in the last 30 games, again, against teams that are not really that good. Lucky for the Yankees is that the Baltimore Orioles are not taking advantage of it at all, and vice versa, where both teams looking at it and saying, we are not playing well, but yet the other team finds a way to outdo the other. Baltimore Orioles, they're coming off of only taking 2 of 3 home against the Chicago White Sox. That's not good for them. So, and then the American League just in general. You look at this league, and right now it is a 3-way tie in the loss column for first in the American League between the Yanks, Orioles, and Cleveland Guardians. So, that's the thing, is that you look at this, and I think that the Houston Astros are ripe for making another really good run here, and just based on the remaining competition. If I'm being honest with myself as a Yankee fan, I do think that the Yankees would have some success against some of these American League Central teams. We've seen it in the past. We've seen it this season. And so, yes, I do believe that they can find their way. And then versus Baltimore, I don't know. That one is somewhat of a coin flip. And let's see who wins the division first and foremost. But then there's the Astros that kind of sit there as a team that within the confines of the league, I think that, with a healthy Kyle Tucker, and if they can, sort of find enough healthy arms, which I think that they'll have, I think that they're going to be dangerous. And that's not even to say the National League, to me, there's a lot. Really, all of those playoff teams, they seem stronger than the American League. So I think the Yankees are very fortunate sitting at 80 and 60 that there's still an opportunity for them to potentially finish first in the league. Not just the division, but the entire league. That is crazy to me. It speaks more to the rest, to their surroundings than anything, right? And it almost loses sight on what is going on. The Yankees have not been playing great baseball for a while now. It's been average at best. And it's been the same things that have been, that they've been victim of. And the Yankees, look, it's stubbornness, on the part of the organization for a lot of different things. I mean, we have to continue to see Alex Verdugo be run out there when Jason Dominguez, is the better option. He just is. And I'm not saying that it's 100% like Dominguez is better in every aspect, but yes, like if you want to win baseball games, the Martian, Jason Dominguez, I would like to see what he can bring to the table. And I really, really hope that sooner than later he gets a chance. The offense has not – look, the offense, the main thing for me with the offense is versus left-handed pitching, specifically starters, but I'll say lefties in general. It's not good. It's really not good. Like Andrew Heaney shut them down in game 2. Not to say the righty Nathan Eovaldi didn't kind of pitch well in game 3 as well. But you look at this lineup, and I think that if I'm a smart team, I've been saying this, Yankees are going to get neutralized against left-handed starting pitching. That's just the way it is. So that concerns me. But I'll say with the offense, it's been okay lately. I don't have a major issue because kind of the funny thing is like Aaron Judge, what is it now? 9. That's the thing. With this 3 straight series losses, it coincides with Judge hitting no home runs. So and that's the funny thing. Usually I try to be very measured and not try to look. I try to look at it objectively, all these things. And I still think that was the case. But I was very certain that Aaron Judge was going to break his record. And look, he could still do it. He is one of those players that once he goes on a run, watch out. So it's not like out of the realms, but now after going homerless for 9 straight games, doesn't look overly likely. And that's how things can change very quickly. So I guess my main point is, even though Juan Soto, he's had some really good individual games, but I would say even for him, like the Yankees surrounding hitters have made contributions more so than it being solely dependent on Soto Judge, but it's also leading to losses in certain places. So the main thing that bullpen is really, really poor. The rotation in this series, Cole was good, Rodón was really good, and Stroman was not good. So, and that kind of puts Stroman back in a tough, precarious situation as the rotation is concerned. So real quick on this, as far as the rotation, the Cubs series, I'll just, say it now. The plan is Luis Gil coming back off the IL starting on Friday, Clark Schmidt starting on Saturday, and then Garrett Cole on normal rest Sunday. So what that means is, a couple of things. There's a couple of pitchers that will come off the roster and really take your choice, right? My guess, and this isn't me saying like I want it to be, but just logically, I think the 2 players that probably get demoted would be Ron Marinaccio and Phil Bickford. That's what I would think. Because I think that in terms of the other bubble pitchers, if you will, and we could kind of keep that within maybe 2 or 3 pitchers. Tim Mays is possible, but I think they do like the idea of having that second lefty, not including Nestor. And we'll talk about Nestor just in a moment here. But Tim Mays, I think he's staying for now. Another one that comes to mind, like Scott Efros, but I think that would be pretty cruel and unfair. And quite honestly, he actually looked kind of decent in game 3. So I think Efros is here to stay. And the other one, honestly, that is, and I could be forgetting someone else. I don't think I am. But Mark Leiter Jr. has been just straight up horrific. I think his roster spot is safe for now. But honestly, we're getting to a point where he is almost unusable, which is just a bad look on Cashman for that trade acquisition. So yeah, chances are I'm thinking Marinaccio and Bickford with Gil and Schmidt coming back, but more of the bigger, more important conversation is what it means for the rotation. So they said that Nestor Cortez will piggyback in relief either Gil or Schmidt, but then they already said he will be back in the starting rotation for the Red Sox series, which is not the one after the Cubs series. That's Kansas City. It's the one after. So against Boston. So I think that we don't really know the decision. It doesn't bode well for Nestor, but I think the only 2 that are truly, truly safe in this rotation are Cole and Rodón. And then it's kind of up for grabs the rest of the way. I think that Gil and Schmidt have a decent inside track. on that rotation if they pitch well. To me, it goes back to Nestor and Stroman as the ones, now it's only going to be one that loses their spot initially, right? So they bring it from 6 to 5. And I guess I would say Nestor is the front runner to lose it. But then once you go to the postseason, you drop from 5 to 4 or even 3, then I think Stroman is the one that's in trouble. But again, there's the whole, Luis Gil, he could be really effective deep in the bullpen. So a lot of different things that are all interconnected because now, the closer situation, that's going to be kind of a by committee thing. And I think that's what it should be. I think the main 3 pitchers that will be given a chance are Jake Cousins, Tommy Kahnle, and Luke Weaver. Not including, like I said, like a Luis Gil, like the traditional relievers. And we'll see. I don't think it's going to be one guy at first. Maybe eventually it becomes that, but I'm just glad that it's not going to be Clay Holmes anymore. And I'm very confident it won't be. Not to say that he won't get another chance down the road this season. I could see that, but I really hope it isn't. And I think that, look, I don't think Holmes is a complete lost cause. I think that he could actually be somewhat effective in a different role. So that's kind of a little bit of a summary and recap of where things stand with, the pitchers coming back from the IL. Ian Hamilton, I think he's probably not too far away. Same with Lou Trevino. So again, a lot of pitchers kind of knocking on that door. Less so with the hitters. right? Like John Birdie, we might see him somewhat soon. As far as injured players go, Jason Dominguez is another story entirely. But we'll see what happens. Again, please like and subscribe. Would be greatly appreciated and very helpful to the channel. So let's jump into the start of this Yankees-Texas series. Keep in mind, the Yankees did take 2 of 3 from Texas a few weeks back. And that was a situation where the Yankees took the first game, lost the second, won the third. So within those 10 rubber matches, it seems as if the Yankees, in most cases, but certainly probably not all, have won that first game, which makes it all the more frustrating. But I think what was happening was earlier on, they were still finding ways to then win that rubber match. Now that hasn't happened. And it's just not good. So what I'll say as well, from an injury standpoint, in this series, Austin Wells does get hit by a pitch in game 1. He stays in the game for the remainder of the game, but he didn't play game 2, that was going to happen anyway. Trevino was going to get the start versus the lefty, but he also didn't play game 3. It sounds like he's all right. Was a little bit sore. I think this will be something that we can put in the rear view, but you won't know for sure until that Cubs series. So I suppose there's a world where maybe with the Cubs starting a lefty in that first game, they maybe could give Wells just one more day. And then at that point, it'd be 4 straight days off. We'll see. I wouldn't be terribly surprised that happens. But again, no Austin Wells, which is not ideal. But look, as far as the starting lineup is concerned, really, there's been some continuity. I mean, certainly Glaber has stayed with that leadoff spot and deserves to keep it. He's really done a very nice job offensively. You're still going to get, again, there was that defensive miscue that cost them in game 2, and that's going to happen. And I'm excited, actually. Excited is maybe the wrong word, but I'm intrigued to dissect what we saw, especially towards the end of game 2. There was just some things that caught my eye. But yeah, again, you're seeing Verdugo at the end of the order. Again, for me, I'd rather see Dominguez, but they're going to ride this out with Verdugo as long as they can. But yeah, I guess to quickly go through individuals, Glaber, just what I'm seeing at the plate. Soto had a pretty good series. And the crazy thing with him is he had a goal in mind where he had there was a few stadiums where he had not homered in. Going to the season, it might have been anywhere from probably 5 to 6 stadiums, and he had it on his bucket list. And he has actually been able to achieve hitting home runs at each stadium, and the only one he has left is Seattle. So it's kind of incredible. I kind of heard that in passing. I'd forgotten about it. The guy, there is a major. I know that maybe isn't clutch in a team sense, more individual, but Juan Soto, even when he's struggling, there's not a guy even more than Judge. Ninth inning, I want Soto up. I am confident that he will get on base almost every time. So Soto, more than not, good series for him. Aaron Judge, a struggle to be certain, not only offensively but defensively. And I've been kind of saying this. It's maybe it's an uncomfortable conversation, but the guy just is not that great of a center fielder. He's a very good right fielder. Unfortunately, we haven't seen him in right in a while, but I just think the whole defensive alignment, what is the point of having Trent Grisham? But I also, what it comes down to is this. They don't want to hurt Juan Soto's feelings. And I do get that. And that is why you see them keep it the way it is. But to make no mistake, your best defense is Grisham in center and more so Judge in right and him not being in center. Anyway, but yeah, Judge had his struggles defensively. Trevino combination, not a whole lot offensively. Trevino, very good at framing. Of course, we know he doesn't have a good arm, and teams definitely take advantage of that as far as stolen bases. But Trevino really seems to get a lot of those calls, those outside strikes that he's able to reel in. Giancarlo Stanton, he homers in game 1. He actually almost homered again in game 3. But in the middle of that, a good amount of strikeouts from Giancarlo. Not the best series from him, but still made an impact. Jazz Chisholm Jr., you got to love what you're seeing from him overall. And I know game 3 ends up not being a big night for him, but just in general, really using that speed, he is really give Cashman credit there. That was a really good acquisition, and like what I'm seeing from him. Anthony Rizzo, starts game 1 and 3. Okay, not great. The good thing so far is I haven't seen any defensive mishaps, and so there's that. And offensively, he's not looked completely lost. It hasn't been great, but we'll see. Anthony Volpe, again, it's one of those things. He hasn't really been bad. He's been all right. He's been all right, and he kind of came close to a home run in game 1 against his high school buddy Jack Leiter. And then there's Alex Verdugo, who, just not great. Doing just enough to kind of stick around, right? He's giving you just enough for them to justify keeping him in the lineup, but the eye test just tells you a completely different story. So Garrett Cole would start game 1 and pitch really, really well, which was good to see. The thing with Garrett Cole was he did leave at the start of the 7th inning due to cramping. He's fine. And so no worries there. The win improves his record to 6-3. He goes 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, and 9 strikeouts. So actually a really, really impressive performance from Garrett Cole. And for Texas, it was Jack Leiter, who actually, was looking okay. Now, Leiter, very young in MLB terms. He's only made a handful of starts. And it hasn't been great so far. He's highly touted, the son of Al Leiter, the cousin of Mark Leiter Jr. Jack Leiter goes to 0-2, 5 innings, 7 hits, 5 runs, no walks, and 2 strikeouts for him. So the Yankees would jump out to the lead in the 3rd inning. And that would be a 1-out single for Volpe, an infield single for Verdugo, and a 2 RBI double for Gleyber Torres. So that makes it 2-0 Yankees right there. Then we go to the bottom of the 3rd, and just a weird situation where and one thing I just want to say, because I'm seeing his name, Corey Seager didn't even play game 2 and 3. That's the inexcusable part. The Texas Rangers won both games that Corey Seager did not play. He was placed on the IL. He could be done for the season, but that's for Texas to be concerned about. But yeah, your biggest threat. And look, Texas has other solid hitters in that lineup, but Seager is the guy. He didn't even play, so that makes it even worse. Anyway, runner on first, 2 out. Josh Smith, who looks like he's going to be a solid player. Again, just a disastrous Joey Gallo trade, because Josh Smith and Ezekiel Duran, those are major league caliber players for sure. And I'm even more so Josh Smith. It ends up going down as an RBI double, but really in reality, Aaron Judge, just didn't get the ball in quick enough, didn't really throw it where it needed to be thrown. And we've seen that sort of stuff from Aaron Judge lately, where it's a bit leisurely, but it's more so just not throwing the ball where it needs to be thrown. And we saw that a couple times this series. So yeah, just not loving that. And so that makes it 2-1. Then the scoring's held off for a bit until the Yanks explode in the 6th. And Aaron Judge, with really his biggest sort of moment offensively of the series that I remember, it's an RBI double for Judge in a 1st and 2nd no-out situation against Jack Leiter. And so I probably skipped over the fact that, the inning before Anthony Volpe almost homered against Jack Leiter. So that makes it 3-1 with the Judge RBI double. Then Chase Anderson comes in, and that's where he hits Austin Wells. He would stay in the game, but he wouldn't play games 2 and 3. Eventually what happens is Jazz Chisholm Jr. gets a pretty big bases-loaded RBI single to make it 4-1. And then Anthony Rizzo somewhat fortunate, but they all count the same. Down the left field line, kind of dunks it in for a 2-run ground rule double to give the Yankees a 6-1 lead. And then Jazz Chisholm scores on a wild pitch to make it 7-1. So big inning there for the Yankees. Like I said in the start of the seventh, that's where Cole leaves due to cramping. Luke Weaver comes on. And Luke Weaver, the interesting thing is, like, for him, he hasn't really been all that great lately, but yet in my mind, there's still I don't know. I haven't lost confidence in him. It hasn't gotten so bad to the point where it's like, I still think he's part of that circle of trust. But Wyatt Langford, the rookie, had a really, really good series. A 2-run homer for Langford, his 9th homer of the year, makes it 7-3. Then in the 8th, Giancarlo Stanton responds with a solo shot. 25th homer of the season, makes it 8-3. So that's 10 seasons of 25-plus homers in what has been a really, really very impressive career for Stanton. And it would be pretty cool to see him get 5 more homers and reach that 30-homer mark. Certainly attainable as long as he stays on the field. So that makes it 8-3. Then in the bottom of the 8th, Tim Hill comes on for Luke Weaver, pitches a scoreless 8th. Again, Tim Hill continues to get the job done. It's not pretty, but he does what he has to do. And then the bottom of the 9th, Hill gives up a 1-out single to Josh Young, and then Clay Holmes comes on. So Clay Holmes comes into a non-save situation, and it did get ugly. And no one really talked much about it because the Yankees end up winning fairly handily, and it wasn't a safe spot. But Clay Holmes, this is a precursor of what we would see the next night. Ground rule double Langford, RBI ground out Jonah Heim. He walks Leody Taveras, and it ends up being a situation where the tying runs on deck, and Marcus Semien smokes one. But Gleyber Torres actually makes a nice play to come up with it, and they get the out. So that was almost disastrous, but Holmes is able to escape it, and the Yankees win the first game 8-4 to reach their 80th win of the season. Let's go to game 2, and this is the one that really, really stings the most, for sure. And DJ LeMahieu starts in place of Rizzo. Carlos Rodón was brilliant, arguably one of his best starts, maybe the best start as a Yankee that he's had. 6 innings, 1 hit, just 1. It was a homer, actually. 2 walks, 11 strikeouts. But unfortunately for him, he was in line for the win. He was, but it was taken away from him by the Yankee bullpen primarily. And for Texas, it was Andrew Heaney, and he pitched really well himself. Very, very well. The former Yankee. 5 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 1 walk, and 8 strikeouts for Andrew Heaney. So in this game, Texas takes the lead. After there was no scoring for a while, Josh Young homers off of Rodón. The one mistake he made is deposited for a sixth home run of the season, makes it 1-0 Texas. And then let's go to the 7th. That's where the Yankees get a couple of runs. And Jazz starts it out with a single, then Volpe singles, then due to Jazz Chisholm basically just wreaking havoc against Jose Leclerc, it's a balk. Or it would have been a double steal if it hadn't been a balk. But second and third, no out, and Jose Trevino gets an RBI ground out. Chisholm Jr. scores. Volpe moves over to third. 1-1 game. They bring in the lefty Andrew Chafin for Alex Verdugo, and Verdugo is able, because the infield was drawn in, to kind of flare a single into, I guess, over the second baseman's head. So it really wasn't hit hard, but placed where it needed to be, and the Yankees take a 2-1 lead right there. And then DJ LeMahieu grounded into a double play. Shocker. Tommy Kahnle comes into a 1-run game and pitches a good 7th inning, a scoreless 7th. And then in the 8th, the Yankees tack on a couple more runs. Grant Anderson would actually come in for Chafin at one point. You end up with a situation where it is bases loaded and 2 out, and a really nice at-bat by Anthony Volpe. So, yeah, credit where it's due for Volpe. It hasn't he hasn't been going crazy, but there's been consistency. Let's just put it this way. My complaints for Volpe right now aren't really that strong, so that's a good sign. And Volpe works a nice at-bat and gets a 2-run single. Here's the problem. It could have actually been a 3-run hit because it was a full count. The speedy Chisholm Jr. was at first, and there was just some sort of miscommunication between Rojas and Chisholm Jr. I think more of the blame goes to Luis Rojas, who wasn't quite aggressive enough in sending Jazz home. I don't know if Jazz didn't locate him, but that was a run that really could have and should have scored, and what would have made a pretty big difference. Could have made it 5-1. It stays 4-1. And then Volpe actually still second, so it's second and third, and Jose Trevino strikes out. Kind of an underrated at the time. The Trevino strikeout ends up being pretty big. So it remains 4-1, And then the floodgates open. Tommy Kahnle starts the inning, an easy play to DJ LeMahieu. Apparently, it got caught in the lights. It was a chop ground ball that LeMahieu was unable to snag. He can't pick it up. Kahnle tries to get it, but Josh Smith is safe. So that's a bad way to start the inning, and it is LeMahieu's fault. They then bring in Jake Cousins. A lucky single from Marcus Semien, just placed perfectly in the infield. Cousins then strikes out Wyatt Langford. And then the really big play of the inning beyond the LeMahieu era was a Josh Young RBI single on a play that was hit. It was hit hard against Cousins, but it was a play that could have easily been made by Glaber. It goes under his glove, and so what could have been an inning double play 4-1 game becomes an RBI single, first and third, 1 out, 4-2 game. Then Josh Young steals second. Adolis Garcia walks, and they take Jake Cousins out for Tim Hill. So Tim Hill comes into really probably one of his biggest spots as a Yankee. Bases loaded, 1 out, 4-2 game, and he's able to navigate and get the job done. Nathaniel Lowe gets a sac fly to make it 4-3, but then Hill is able to strike out the pinch hitter Jonah Heim. So the score remains 4-3 in the ninth inning. And here's the thing that I want to go back to. Here's where what I was saying before, where things got interesting. Why was Anthony Rizzo not – and I'll tell you why. I'm going to answer my own question. Anthony Rizzo should have been brought into this game for defensive purposes for DJ LeMahieu at first. I think what they were thinking was, well, it's a 3-run game, and we don't really want to hurt DJ's feelings. I seriously think that was part of the equation. And unfortunately, it backfired. And the fucked up thing is this. Rizzo ends up pinch hitting for DJ in the ninth. It makes the whole thing look way worse. It's one thing if you're going to say, okay, we're going to give Rizzo the full day off. That wasn't the case. They made themselves look worse. So that happens. And that was a mistake. Rizzo is exponentially better than LeMahieu at first base. And that is coming from someone who did not like Anthony Rizzo's defense for a lot of the season before he got hurt. Gleyber Torres gets a 2-out single. They then bring on the lefty Walter Pennington. And here's the next interesting thing. Duke Ellis pinch runs for Gleyber. And on the surface, that makes a lot of sense, right? You have Duke Ellis on the roster as the speedy player. You want to get him in there. But what it also told me is this. They did not mind having Gleyber Torres taken out at second base as Oswaldo Cabrera came into play second. I thought it was interesting. It doesn't mean that we're going to see like Oswaldo coming for defensive purposes for Gleyber. It doesn't. But I think it just sheds a little bit of light on the fact that, A, they know that Gleyber's not fast, which we knew. I don't know. To me, like, it may amount to nothing overall, but it's a little bit of a clue and a little bit of a hint as to how they feel. Anyway, Soto walks and then Judge flies out. On a situation where Judge could have maybe given the Yankees an extra cushion, he's unable to do so. Again, Aaron Judge has been, struggling a little bit. Last 2 or 3 series, it hasn't quite been there. And so we go to the ninth, Clay Holmes on. Rizzo at first, Oswaldo Cabrera at second, which is what you kind of wanted it to be the inning before. But anyway, Holmes gets the first out. And we've seen that before. Holmes makes it so agonizing where he'll actually it'll kind of look okay at first, but then it goes totally wrong. Carson Kelly single. Leody Taveras pinch runs and steals second. He walks Josh Smith. He walks Marcus Semien. And so Holmes cannot find the plate. It's bases loaded, 1 out. And it ends up being a full count to Wyatt Langford. And Holmes, you're just hoping at this point that A, Holmes doesn't walk in the tying run and that the ball is probably going to hit hard and you're just hoping that it's somehow a double play or something. Well, he hangs one. Langford crushes it for a walk-off grand slam, his 10th homer of the season. And just like that, Clay Holmes with his 11th blown save. You can't make it up. And so that likely is the nail in the coffin on the role that Clay Holmes has. It doesn't mean that he may not find his way back into a save situation, but he is no longer the no doubt about it 9th inning guy. It took him till now. I'm glad it finally happened. It should have happened a long, long time ago. And so an ugly gut punch loss for the Yankees. And then game 3, comparatively wasn't, but it wasn't a good game at all. And, Marcus Stroman wasn't good, and Nate Eovaldi shut the Yankees down, and that was it. So the Yankees make this kind of crazy sort of 9th inning comeback that falls short, but don't let it lose sight of really what happened in this game. But Marcus Stroman, who had been pitching well lately, the ERA goes above 4 now with this outing. He loses to go to 10-7, 3 2/3 innings, 9 hits, 5 earned runs, 1 walk, and 3 strikeouts. Not a good start for Marcus Stroman. And for Texas, the former Yankee Nathan Eovaldi wins to improve to 11-7. 7 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. A very solid outing for him after the Yankees did get him at the stadium that last series that they played against each other. Texas is able to get on the board first inning. It ends up in an RBI groundout for Adolis Garcia. They couldn't quite turn the double play after a couple of singles by Langford and Lowe before that. Makes it 1-0 Texas Rangers. Then at the bottom of the second, you get a couple of doubles. Leonis Taveras on a play where Aaron Judge, I would have liked for to made the play. He doesn't. And then Ezekiel Duran with an RBI double makes it 2-0 Texas. And really, it could have been a lot worse for Stroman, but it wasn't. Jazz Chisholm Jr., who's, again, been one of the bright spots, does come up in a pretty big spot after a couple of Soto and Judge walks, a little bit of a 2-out rally going on, and Chisholm Jr. unfortunately flies out to end the inning. So what could have been something ends up staying 2-0 Texas. And then at the bottom of the fourth, Texas kind of breaks it open a bit. You end up getting a situation where it's an RBI groundout for Josh Smith, 3-0. But then the real big thing was a couple of big 2-out hits that actually knocked Stroman out of the game. Wyatt Langford with an RBI double and Nathaniel Lowe with an RBI single, make it 5-0. So it was tolerable until those couple of things happened. So not great. Scott Effross comes in, is able to finish out the inning. And then in the fifth, there was a play where Alex Verdugo grounds out, and just you're seeing a lack of hustle from Verdugo. And, Boone saying he's banged up. But that's the problem with Verdugo, too, is just the optics aren't great either. This is not a player that's showing full-out hustle. And so when you're not going to be performing, offensively, and you're doing that, it's a recipe for disaster when you have Jason Dominguez lingering and performing in AAA. But the Yankees do get a home run. It's Juan Soto, his 38th home run of the season, opposite field homer. The one, not even mistake by Evaldi, just good piece hitting by Juan to make it 5-2. But then in the bottom of the sixth is where Tim Meza comes on after Effross pitched a pretty good, inning in the third with a couple of strikeouts. So hopefully that gets him rolling. But Tim Meza, a little unlucky, I guess you could say. A 1-out double for Josh Smith and then a walk for Langford. So that's not great. But then Nathaniel Lowe with a single on a ground ball off of Tim Meza. So what could have maybe been at least getting an out, they don't. And so it's basically 1 out, and they bring on Mark Leiter Jr., hoping for the strikeout because that's kind of his thing. And what does he do? Even though none of the runs were charged to him, all inherited runners, it is a 2-run double by Adolis Garcia to make it 7-2, and then a wild pitch by Leiter Jr., where maybe Trevino could have made the stop. Scores Nathaniel Lowe to make it 8-2. So Mark Leiter Jr. has been unequivocally terrible as a Yankee, and that's just not good. So that makes it 8-2. Evaldi goes 7 strong. Ron Marinaccio comes in the 7th, and for him, it just hasn't been good enough. So that's where, in my head, I think Marinaccio probably goes down because he just hasn't really been effective in the few times that he's been pitching since he came back up. It hasn't been great. It ends up being an RBI double for Ezekiel Duran and then an RBI single for Wyatt Langford. So again, Langford with just a really, really good series. And so it's 10-2 after that Marinaccio inning. Then in the bottom of the 8th, Phil Bickford comes on, pitches a 1-2-3 inning. A bunch of defensive changes were made. They took out all the outfielders. So Verdugo, Soto, Judge, all out. And they brought in Oswaldo Cabrera, Trent Grisham, and Duke Ellis. So at least the 9th inning. And the Yankees end up kind of getting this rally, all with 2 out. Oswaldo Cabrera walks. And again, I just wish Oswaldo got more of an opportunity. Jose Trevino walks. Gleyber Torres walks. And so that takes Matt Festa out of the game. And they bring on Grant Anderson. And Trent Grisham greets him with a grand slam. Pretty good at bat, actually. And, for Trent, his 8th homer of the year makes it 10-6. So, okay, getting a little interesting. But then actually it's a little bit more interesting than that. Duke Ellis with his first major league hit. So he gets a single to left, makes it run around first. Then Jazz Chisholm Jr. gets a single, makes it first and second. And actually, it was hit so hard it went off of the pitcher Grant Anderson's foot maybe or lower body. And so he was taken out of the game. I think he might have been taken out. He would have been taken out anyway for Kirby Yates. So the closer, Kirby Yates, comes on. It's a safe situation because the tying run is on deck in the form of Rizzo. The batter at the time is Giancarlo Stanton. And he gets into one. And I think Wyatt Langford might have robbed him of a home run. It was close. Really nice catch by Langford. Stanton crushed it. And so the Yankees somehow almost got the tying run up, but it falls short. Again, don't lose sight of what happened in the game. But I will say, fairly impressive, almost comeback, I guess. And so the Yankees lose the series, and their record drops to 80-60. The Baltimore Orioles, they are 81-60. And so now the Yankees will head to Wrigley Field to take on the Chicago Cubs. And this is actually the one stadium that Aaron Boone has not the one stadium that Aaron Boone hasn't managed. The Yankees have not gone to Wrigley Field since 2017, which of course Girardi was the manager then. And so it's the return of Anthony Rizzo back to Chicago. So that'll be nice. I'm sure they'll greet him very, very well. And so the pitching matchups, I kind of alluded to them before, but Luis Hill for the Yankees against a young lefty, Jordan Wicks. And for the Cubs, let me just say, they're coming off of a combined no-hitter. So Shota Imanaga, rookie lefty, who has been pitching really well. Yankees are lucky to avoid him for sure. He's been, a real bright spot for the Cubs. Cubs had a lot of energy going into their past series against the Pirates. However, before this no-hitter that they had, they did lose 2 games to the Pirates. So they are still fighting. They're 5 games out of that last NL wildcard spot. So this is a team that's kind of trying to hang on, and so they're not going to be easy at all. But hey, they're above 500, which maybe is exactly what the Yankees need, because the Yankees have not done well against below 500 teams. So yes, so like I said, it is Jordan Wicks in game 1 against Luis Hill, and maybe we see Nestor Cortez piggyback Hill or Saturday starter Clark Schmidt. Very excited to see Clark Schmidt back in action. He's looked pretty good in his rehab starts in the minor leagues. He'll go up against right-hander Javier Assad. He's got some pretty nice numbers, low ERA, so we'll see what happens there. And then Sunday, probably your most interesting on-paper matchup, it's a battle of friends and former teammates in Garrett Cole and Jameson Taillon. So these were teammates back with Pittsburgh and, of course, recently with the Yankees. So Yankees, I said it last episode, they need to right the ship. The opportunities are still there. The division is still crazily up for grabs because Baltimore just is not playing well either. But the Yankees need to find a way to just win the series. And it's just, again, the 10 straight rubber matches is insane. Like, make no mistake, that is crazy. Like, that is something that you just don't see. But it speaks to the mediocrity that the Yankees are playing. They need to right the ship, and hopefully Hill and Schmidt coming back can inject a little bit of life into them. And you're really looking for Aaron Judge to find a little bit. Like I said, he's the last few series hasn't been, what he'd been doing before that. And so, yeah, we'll see what happens. But, yeah, Yankees lose another series. 2 of 3 of the Texas Rangers. They will complete the road trip. They will go from Texas to Chicago. We will see a series at Wrigley Field against the Cubs.